Welcome to the Heart of Collaboration, and I'm your host, Bernice Belt, and we're so excited to have you allowing us to be into your viewing audience. And we have an extra special guest today, and I know I say that often, but all of our guests are extra special. And for this segment, we have the mighty, mighty man of God, Reverend Anthony Walton,
Yes,
pastor of Christ Temple Apostolic, right here in award-winning Paducah, Kentucky. Hello, Pastor.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. I am greater because you're right here with us
Well, I
today.
do the best I can. People always ask me, how am I doing? I always say, I am absolutely marvelous. I figure if you wake up above ground, everything else got to be uphill.
I love that. I love that. Earlier, before we started, I was saying that's sort of my theme song.
Yes,
I'm on
ma'am.
this side of the dirt.
That's
I
it.
am all
That's
right.
it. All right, it's got to be good.
Well, Pastor, we have a multifaceted segment of this show, and we're going to start, I think, this way. Start talking to us about the church itself,
Okay.
Its birth, and bring us up to the ribbon cutting, the grand opening of the
Wow,
new building, and then we'll
wow.
go from there.
Okay, we came up here from Nashville, and actually 98 was the first time we actually started coming up, my wife and my son and I. And my pastor was supposed to be selling the building for our organization. And he decided to buy it. The church in Nashville decided to buy it, and we just fixed it up. I never forget, I tell people this all the time. I was on my way I was driving him to St. Louis coming through Paducah. We stopped there to help the guy paint. I was painting that back wall, and I was talking to myself. I said, what idiot is going to drive all the way from Nashville to Paducah, Kentucky to start a church from the ground up? Had no idea that I was going to be the idiot. I had no idea that it was going to be me. I really had no intentions on becoming a pastor. I was working in Nashville. I was managing a grocery store. I had a gigantic prison ministry there, and I was pretty satisfied. And I came up as a favor to my pastor in '98. And after just a few months, I knew that this was what I was supposed to be doing. And we just started it, and it was not easy.
So your church in Nashville, where you ministered with your pastor,
Yes.
actually owned the property where the church is sitting now?
They purchased it, and sometime I think before '98, and they owned it, and they basically signed it over to me to pastor and everything. So it was their baby at first, and he was supposed to be selling it, but he ended up purchasing it himself. And so now it's ours.
Now, talk about divine connection. First of all, you and your pastor were together.
Yes.
The church owned the property.
Yes.
Where the church sits on right now in Paducah. You had no idea you were going to be called to pastor and then to build that church up from the ground up.
No idea, no idea. And the thing about it, sis, is that my wife and my son and I would drive up here, and we never knew whether anybody was going to be here or not. I would go to work at 5 o'clock on Sunday mornings, meet them at the church in Nashville at 8 o'clock. We would drive up here, and I would preach, and I would drive back and go back to work and work until 11 o'clock. This went on for years.
Talk about grassroots. And no offense to anybody on the planet, but as humans, we do like convenience.
Yes.
And I am sure that many pastors would hope, would send an email, a text, or a Twitter to God and say, please, don't send me somewhere where I have to fix it up and then build it up from the ground up. I'm pretty sure that most pastors or aspiring pastors probably would not make that formal request.
That was difficult because you come into a city that you, first of all, didn't even know existed, had no idea, never heard of Paducah, Kentucky. So coming to that city and over there in that area that we were in, you know, with the drugs and all of that going on, and not realizing whether anybody was going to be there or not, it was difficult. I remember having flats on that big red church van that we used to drive in July, and I'm out changing the lugs on that big van, and it seemed like that they would reproduce. The lugs would. So it's like every time I took one off, it seemed like another one came. So I'm sitting out in the sun changing the tires on the van on the way here to church. And it was difficult. It was not easy coming and not knowing whether anybody was going to be there. But I knew in my spirit that it was God.
Well, people can't look at you and tell your story. And so as we work our way towards the ribbon cutting, I'm getting really anxious because many people think they know a person's story.
Right.
And we'll share some things that you've shared and talk a little bit
Right.
about the book that you've written. And then we want to talk about how you connected and networked with Mayor Bill Paxton and a couple of other people that we met at your ribbon cutting, if you would.
Okay, and when I first started coming up here, I felt like I needed to connect. I needed to find out something about the city. I wanted to go to the mayor's office. I went and met him, told him that I'm an ex-convict. I was born again in prison. I didn't have a prison, just a jailhouse religion. I really absolutely got born again, and told him about the book that I had written and what I was wanting to do. I was wanting to really come to Paducah and make a change, make a spiritual change. And I didn't know what he was thinking until later, like, yeah, right. That was kind of his attitude, yeah, right. But we connected. I stayed in touch with him all the time. And he is actually the one that put me in touch with Wade Hayton, who donated the steel building to us. And all of that is divine.
Absolutely.
Because what happened is that once we actually moved here to the city, we moved here in '05. After I was actually installed as the official pastor in 2000. So in '05 we moved here, and the church just started, it's like the membership just went crazy. And we were over flooded with people. And so I went to him and showed him a picture. I said, you know, we need to do something. I don't know what, if you got any ideas or whatever. So, of course, you know, he was basically, didn't really know what to do at all or anything. And we started fasting. And we started praying specifically for a building. That's what we were praying for. And as you can see, you know, even with how packed we were on a Sunday. And sometimes it was even more than that, because we had chairs in the front, you know, just everywhere. And we were just praying for a building. We need a building. We started to fast and pray. The first Monday of the fast, Mayor Paxton called. It was about 20 minutes after 4. He called my house. Didn't even know he had my house number. He called my house. Said, I know a guy that's got to tear a building down. He's not going to sell it. I mean, he's not going to give it to you. He'll probably sell it to you. But he's got to tear it down, so you might want to check on him. And that started us with Wade Hayton. We've claimed that was going to be our building, and he was going to donate it to us. That's what we claimed it. Had no idea that all that was going to happen. He ended up donating the building to us, joining our church. He was a general contractor of helping us get it built and everything. And it's like God has just been in all of that. And I could write a book.
Some things will not come about except by fasting and prayer.
That's right.
The taking away of that which we think we have to have and doing without it and praying through that period of time is power.
It is.
And
it is.
Obviously, you and your church family are evidential of the truth of that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
we
ma'am.
met Brother Wade and his wife.
Yes.
And your wife was running around there taking pictures and being all excited all at the same time.
Yes.
And members who were able to get off from work, who were able to be there,
Yes,
people from all over the community, the county, as a matter of fact, people representing organizations.
Yes.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember Brother Wade becoming overwhelmed because he was in this journey with you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
he didn't know in the beginning just how powerful of an addition to this kingdom building effort of God through you and him and others that he would be.
He had no idea. I think his main thing was, I'm going to donate this building, and that's about it. But when he came to the church and he saw and felt the power of God there, it basically attracted him, and he just has been coming ever since. He's only missed probably maybe 3 Sundays since he started coming, and he's just been instrumental in us in the planning process, the architectural work, all of that. All of his wisdom and everything helped us to get all of this thing done, and we were just excited for him just being there with us, because it was a godsend.
It was, and I could feel it. I could feel it at the ribbon cutting, and I was excited, and I got goosebumps and all of that. And when that ribbon was cut, I know that you had services prior to the official ribbon cutting.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you're already maxed.
Yes. I mean, it's amazing how God just blessed us, because it's almost like, how did we ever get in that little building? How did we survive in the little room that we were in? It's amazing. And the thing about it, on Sundays we have very few first-time visitors. It's all people that were actually members that just couldn't get there at the same time.
Yes.
And it's been amazing. The whole journey has been a God journey. There's no way that I could have accomplished this without God. No way.
Well, you obviously have made him the head of your life.
Yes.
And you know, we hear people traditionally say before doing something, to God who is the head of my life. But when you see evidence of it, you don't have to talk about it.
No.
God, people know it, don't they?
They'll know it. And the thing about it is, when I was in prison, and I tell people this all the time, I absolutely got born again there. I went to prison in 1984 for armed robbery. I was given a 12-year sentence. In 1985 is when I absolutely got born again. I got baptized in the Holy Ghost with speaking in tongues and all of that in prison, and it supernaturally transformed my life. And I got out of prison in 1987 and started stacking groceries. And you remember Miss Compton was there.
Yes.
You know, that's where I started there. I stacking groceries there, and they made me one of their managers. And from coming out of prison and everything, and they having the confidence in me to make me one of the managers of their stores, it was a blessing to me, and it still showed the power of God. Because I've done some things that I should not have been able to do with the record that I've had. So it shows that when a person's life is transformed, then God can do supernatural things in their life.
Say her name again, and the
Compton.
name of, Ms. Compton?
Miss Sarah Compton, C-O-M-P-T-O-N.
All right.
And
Bless her soul.
it was Compton's Food Land in Nashville that I worked. And the owner, which was her husband, he passed away a few years ago, and I was a pallbearer for one of his, I was one of his pallbearers. And she just fell in love with me and the church and the prison ministry that we do. And she's been a very effective contributor to the other organization that we have.
Well, Miss Compton had a sweet spirit about her.
Yes.
She had to have been a godsend to start with.
Yes.
She was in place. She was positioned to help make a difference in your life, and she was there in the nick of time.
Yes, ma'am.
It's very easy for people to turn back to crime when they're not given an opportunity, and doors will not be opened for them, even the sincerest of those who have made mistakes. And the truth is that we're all sinners.
Yes.
Thank God for grace.
Yes.
And you've written a book about your experience. What is the title of that book, Pastor?
Under the Shadow. And as a matter of fact, I am revising it now, giving it a beginning and a different kind of ending now, because I stopped where I got out of prison. So I want to talk a little bit more about the things that have happened since I've been out. And I want to give a little history of my early years of childhood, being abused and everything like that. Because most people, sometimes they don't realize childhood abuse a lot of times triggers a lot of things in our lives. It really causes a lot of unexpected turn of events when we were physically abused or emotionally abused as children. It has an effect on us. Not saying that is the reason why we do things, but it definitely has an effect on us. And I want to kind of put some of that in writing as well.
Yes. Well, that's going to be exciting, and so when you have your book signing,
yes, ma'am,
you make sure that we all know
everybody
way in advance.
Everybody would know.
I'm going to try to be the first in line to get mine signed.
Everybody would know.
I have that book.
Okay.
I purchased from you. It was at Rosary Chapel.
Yes, ma'am.
I think during either the 8th of August period, or maybe it might have been in January or February of one year. Yes, I remember purchasing that book, and I have it, and I've treasured that book. And I want to get this in before we go to our next phase, that I remember Mayor saying in his comments at the ribbon cutting that when he realized that you were for real, he said, "This man's found God."
Yeah, he found God.
He sounded like a pastor.
Yeah, he did.
And I remember him saying that, and it just did something. It changed the atmosphere and took the atmosphere of the ribbon cutting even to another level. To hear the mayor say that, and the mayor loves the Lord. He just can't get up and do Bible studies, you know, because he's got to be the mayor.
Yes, he got to be the mayor.
By the time this airs, we will have a new mayor, but she was there too.
Yes.
And you've already developed a great relationship with Mayor Kayla.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And we'll say congratulations to her.
To her.
And we know that Mayor Paxton is going to continue being a strong arm of protection in his special ways here in the city of Paducah and in the region, as a matter of fact. Pastor Walton, tell us a little bit about, well, at your church and through your church, through God's calling upon your life, you have developed ministry or ministries. Tell us about that.
Okay, it's called Life Community. It's an acronym. Love is for everyone. That's what Life stands for. And we have our ex-offender support group under that meets every first Monday at the W.C. Young Community Center. And we have what we call Teen Ease that comes under that. It's teenagers from 13 to 19. We meet every second and fourth Monday. I have what we call a 8-week course called the Lifesaver class that with anybody with any controlling issues, life controlling issues, you come there at 11:30 every Tuesday to get help, and you get a certificate of completion at the end of 8 weeks. We have a Sisters of Support, our marriage enrichment, men's ministry, and the singles ministry, and plus the Life After Lockup, which is what I do here on television. That is one of the most powerful things that I feel like that has happened to the ministry, because I really appreciate the opportunity that that the college here has given me to do that television program, because it's an opportunity to interview ex-offenders that have gotten out of prison, that are now living decent lives and trying to get their stories out. I've been able to interview men that have spent time in prison for nothing and that have been exonerated, and to get their story out. I've been honored to do that right here on this television set, and it's been a powerful thing. I really appreciate these guys for letting us do that. I really do.
That's Life After Lockup.
Life After Lockup.
At Paducah 2, www.paducah2.org.
Yes, or you can go to YouTube and
YouTube,
type in.
That's right.
Right, type in, because I saw your program on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I typed in your program on YouTube and it showed it. So
I catch your show, and sometimes I'll go right to the website and pick up on the shows again. As a matter of fact, I believe that's how I found out about Edward the Truth Loving.
Yes, because he did a program here.
Yes, Edward is, he's not a rapper. He does spoken word. He's contemporary spoken word. And we had him on 2 or 3 things going on in the city.
Yes, he's good.
And
he's really good.
absolutely.
I think when I heard him the last time, he was at the Carson Center, I believe.
Yes.
And it was emotional.
Yes.
That was powerful. Yes, he's really. It seemed like he tells his story. And he puts it in some type of poetry form, and it is awesome.
I've had him on through another form of media, and people love it. And he's a good daddy.
Right, that's good.
Beautiful kids.
That's great.
And I think a lot of him, he's been through a lot, and he is a tremendous example of the difference that can be made when people accept the power and the sovereignty of God over their lives. It doesn't make them perfect.
Right.
It doesn't erase their past.
Exactly.
But it does help us to take that past and use it as a springboard to take us somewhere else closer to our destiny.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Pastor Walton, you have made an impact on the lives of these men and women. I've seen younger men and younger women and men who are a little bit older, and their story has the same underlying theme, that when they stop trying to be the God of their lives and accepted and started serving the God of all, then their lives turned around.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and to have a man of God like you to be the host and the producer of that show makes a huge impact upon our community and our region, as a matter of fact. And being on YouTube, it makes an impact on the planet.
All over the world. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I hope that people will come and visit you. Those who don't know God can accept God anywhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And certainly God is always operating at your church.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and operating through you and your sweet wife, Lady Deborah Walton.
Yes, ma'am.
and you have the great music ministry.
Wow, yes.
Your sermons are plain. They're Bible based.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't miss anybody
Nope.
unless you're younger than about 5 or 6.
Yeah,
You might not
I
get
might
it.
not get them all the way.
But
You
hang
know.
out for a
Yes,
while. Hang
that's
out
right.
for a while.
That's right.
But if they're 6 and older, you get them all
Yes, ma'am.
during your
Yes,
sermons,
ma'am.
and I've
Yes,
heard
ma'am.
enough of them to know that I know what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
You know that you have more books inside you, and I'm sure God's going to birth them
Yes, yes,
in
yes.
His own time. But I'm looking forward to the revision of
Yes,
your
ma'am.
first book.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
What would you like to say about the role of the pastor and the role of the mentor as the pastor?
I'm pretty straightforward when it comes to this position. I've been ridiculed and sometimes criticized because I'm a little bit too straight when it comes to expecting integrity, morality, decency among the religious leaders.
Yes.
I feel like that if we are in those positions, we ought to be above reproach, like the Bible says, blameless. Even when they were looking for deacons in the Bible, men of good report. That means that their lifestyles should exemplify God. So I'm pretty a stickler when it comes to, if you're in these positions, be a person of integrity. I think the role of a pastor ought to be a person where people can look up to, that he's not being scandalized in the community, that he has a very good reputation, and lead so that people can follow you. I think it was Paul that said to young Timothy, "Follow me as I follow Christ." And I think God should be our prize or the mark, and we should follow Him as a pastor. I take this position very seriously.
Well, earlier we were talking about how very loving but firm that Jesus was
Yes.
While on earth.
Yes.
Jesus was not a drama king.
Right.
He didn't get involved in cliques.
Right.
He didn't have a clique to try to pull anybody into.
Right. Right.
His leader was his Father,
That's right.
God. He was about his Father's business. Jesus didn't rub and pat on folk and tell them it'll be all right without teaching them how to get it right.
Exactly.
He said, "Wilt thou be made whole?" He asked the question. Your answer was either yay or nay.
That's it.
And he would be quick to tell folk, "I must be about my Father's business."
Exactly. And one of the things that Jesus did, Jesus was very hard on the religious people, loving to sinners, but very hard on those that were in leadership positions.
Yes.
The scribes and Pharisees, the teachers, those that were supposed to be out front, and the guidelines, they were the ones that he was the hardest on. And I think sometimes that's kind of how I feel a little bit. Those that are in leadership position lead according to the book, to the guidelines, to God's book. And anytime you don't lead like that, then I think you mess up people's lives.
Yes, and be big enough to accept the fact that maybe sometimes people call themselves.
Thank you.
Because it looks good, it looks glamorous, it looks real sharp behind that microphone, and what have you, and getting the attention, or so it appears, from the masses. But sometimes I think that people call themselves.
Yes.
And you know what? God is a lifter up of faith if we have faith. And if we've made a mistake, then regroup. You know, I'm sorry, God.
Right.
And so, God, let me, speak to me. Tell me what it is that you really have called me to do, because I've learned that's what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
I don't want to have my way. Have your way, God.
Right.
I want to do it your way, God. And it doesn't have to be glamorous, because, you know, drug dealers can put on a suit.
Yes.
Drug dealers can put on a hat and some high heels.
Yes.
So you got to look past that. And then be honest with ourselves about what God has called us to do. And God is a big God.
Yes.
He doesn't paint us into a corner. So He's got plenty for us to do.
That's right.
And as long as there is sin, there are going to be some sinners for us to minister to evangelize to pastor, to teach, to sing to, and to bring into the fold. There's plenty of work for all of us to do. And we don't have to claim anything that's not ours to claim.
That's right.
Pastor Walton, I know God called you to pastor.
Yeah, I know it too. I know
I
it too.
know he did.
I know it
And
too.
you've taken the bitter with the sweet.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have impacted so many lives. And then now he's positioned you to do that all the more.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm grateful.
I know that you are.
am
I know that you are. God knows a grateful heart.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm grateful for you being on the Heart of Collaboration.
Thank you.
Keep
Thank
on, keep it on.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like to say as we're about to say goodbye to our listening audience for this time?
I just want to say that if you put everything in God's hands, don't try to do it yourself. Let God lead you and guide you. He will direct you right into your purpose.
Oh boy, he'll direct you right into your purpose. Oh my goodness, see, I got goosebumps again. I know it. I know it when I hear it. I know it when I see it, Pastor Walton.
God bless you.
Well, God bless you, and thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we know that the viewing audience is going to treasure this time with you, seeing us pull this all together, knowing that they can enjoy life after lockup right here at Paducah 2 with Pastor Walton being the host and producer. We thank Paducah 2 for allowing us this time. We thank all the guys who are right here in the studio, making us look and sound gooder than we are.
Real good. Real good.
Thank you. God bless you. And we hope that you'll get more involved. Go and visit Christ Apostolic. Christ Temple Apostolic. I sound like I'm speaking in tongues when I'm trying to say that real quick.
Watch out now.
I know it. I know it. Go and visit, and be sure to tell your pastor you're going to go and visit. And if you don't have a church, please consider going to visit Pastor Walton and his church family. They'll love on you the God's way. They'll treat you right. And from the Heart of Collaboration, your host, Bernice Belt, I love you. And you know what? There isn't a thing you can do about it.